Would you guys like to know just a little bit about my story? To tell a little bit about me. It's interesting. I embarked on what I call my quest for freedom, truth, and enlightenment when I was 15 years old. 15. I embarked on this quest, except back then I called it running away from home. Seriously, I had no idea where I was going or how I would get there. I just knew something in my life had to change. I was so frustrated with my life. And what I ended up doing was I couch surfed for quite some time, and I ended up living out of my red Honda Civic, two-door Honda Civic with a broken radiator. Now, you got to imagine this, okay? My job was like 10 miles away, and I had to stop at a gas station about every 3 miles to fill up my radiator with water, okay? So it's a prosperity event, so we're going to talk about what it is to elevate yourself from something of that level to a completely new possibility. And I'll tell you something, if I can do it, everybody in here can do it. And everybody else can do it, because there is nothing different between me and you. I just was so hungry. I knew how to change. By the time I was 18 years old, I was $45,000 in debt. I was shuffling credit cards. That's literally how I was living. I dropped out of school. I was 30 pounds overweight, and I was absolutely depressed and miserable. The thing is, though, and tell me if you guys have ever been there, I knew inside, even though I didn't have any mentors or I didn't have any teachers, or at least I didn't acknowledge any, because there's always mentors and teachers when you have the awareness to see it. True or false? I didn't acknowledge them, so I didn't see it. It wasn't in my awareness. You don't see things that are not aligned with your own belief system. There could be something right there and you won't even see it. But even though I didn't have that available based on my own thinking, I knew inside that I was destined for something more than what was showing up in my life. Have you guys ever been there? Yeah. You're looking at your life circumstance, you're like, hey, wait a minute. Hang on, time out. This is not what I signed up for. Come on, it's not just me, right? I'm like, I am better than this. And what I did was I realized, it's like I had this awakening, like this moment of satori, if you will, although it wasn't the ultimate moment of enlightenment in my life, but I realized that I was creating it. That my life circumstance was reflecting something that was not aligned in me. And what I started doing was I started focusing on myself. I started working on myself. And I remember I met a man right when I was 20 years old, and that was the turning point in my life. And he said something to me that I'll never forget. He said to me, Niurka, work on yourself harder than you work on your job. He said, if you work on your job, you're going to make a living. But if you work on yourself, you'll make a fortune. And you'll build an incredible life. And it really isn't about working, because sometimes that word can be misconstrued. It's about really focusing on a discipline. Does that make sense? It's like studying and making it a practice, just like anything in your life. If you want health, you got to make health a practice, right? It's a practice. It's something that you focus on. You place your attention and your intention on it, but it's not just thinking happy thoughts. There's action that flows from that. I remember Les Brown said that the only place that success comes before work is in the dictionary. So you got to have action behind that. So what ended up unfolding, and my entire life transformed because of one thing. Choice. Choice. I made a choice. I made a decision. I got to the point where I said no more, and I decided. You know the word decision comes from a Latin word. It literally means to cut off. When you decide and you declare to the universe, this is, because you have the power to declare and create yourself in any way. You have the power. You are an individualized expression of the divine. You can create anything that you want in this experience of reality. Anything. The only thing that limits you is your own imagination and your belief that it's possible. So what I began to recognize was that, number one, I had to be clear on what I wanted. If I'm here in this realm of infinite possibilities, that's could be overwhelming, right? So I had to get clear on what I want. What is it that I desire? What is it that I intend? What do I envision for my life? What do I envision for my purpose? And I realized that purpose isn't something you find, because for a long time I was looking for my purpose. Anybody here look for their purpose? You ever travel around the world looking for your purpose? I'm going to go look for my purpose. And then I realized purpose isn't something you find. It's something you define. You choose. You have that power. You define, this is what my purpose is. And as long as it's in line with your essential divine nature, grounded in love, that is the key. That is the key. So there's 3 things that we're going to be talking about here tonight, and it's actually the 3 sections in my book. Number 1 is illuminate. Number 2 is empower, and number 3 is transform. Number 1, illuminate. Become aware. Become aware of the possibilities. Become aware of what you're capable of. Become aware of universal law and how it works. Become aware. And then number 2, how do you empower yourself? How do you really align with these universal principles? So you begin to attract and create the life you envision. And then 3 is really the end result. It's transform. Transform is what happens as a result of you living at this level.